The MDI Global Finals for the War Within Season 1 have concluded, and Mandatory are our champions, defending their title with a nail-biting 3-2 victory against Perplexed. I'm Naguura, and I will break down Mandatory's incredible Siege of Boralus run. At the beginning of the dungeon, they decide to utilize Hopeful's Shroud of Concealment to skip all the way to the first boss's arena. They then have Skylarked on the Vengeance Demon Hunter pull 17% of enemy forces and Chopper Red Hook, while the rest of the team makes sure to wait for a few beats for the mobs to come in and Skylark to get aggro. Then they pop all of their defensive cities and position themselves correctly to survive the Iron Hook's damage and to not get gripped into any bomb spawns. While the damage dealers pop all of their offensive cooldowns, Moat is the only ranged player in the group guaranteeing the boss's fixate on him. He makes sure to position himself a bit to the side initially for the boss to take a bit of a detour first, waiting for the bombs to spawn. Then he groups up with the team, presses Shadow Meld to reset the fixate, and then he moves the boss into the closest bomb to guarantee the damage dealers having all their CDs up and being ready to utilize the 50% damage increase on the boss. Moat then uses Heart of the Wild and Convoke to help out with boss damage and moves on to position himself to kite the boss into the second bomb. They end up doing so much damage to the boss within those two damage amplifiers that they don't need the third bomb. So Moat decides to kite the boss towards the exit of the area to be ready to move on as soon as the boss goes down. Next up, Skylarked and the damage dealers are dealing with more trash, while Moat is starting the firing lines from the powder shots. As soon as it clears, he moves forward and tags the spotter pack to stop the fire. Once they are done with this pack, all of their offensive CDs are back up except Mace's Unholy Assault, and they are ready to gather the next big pull. They move towards Lockwood and engage multiple packs on the way, gathering it all up onto the boss. They make sure to utilize their Shadow Melds to avoid some of the asteroid charges from the commanders, avoiding the loss of uptime on the boss and the very high damage it does in combination with the boss's Fury Ricochet. At the end of the boss fight, Skylark moves over to the barricades and tags some mobs, which then allows Mace to grip them in, which is a cool trick for some extra enemy forces. Skylark then immediately jumps ahead as soon as the boss goes down to stop the firing lines, and moves on to gather up 2 Demolishers and 4 caster packs. They use Tremor Totem to break the fear, so they are able to stay in and keep uptime. They use a perfect sequence of their AoE disrupts like Blinding Sleet, Cap Totem, Chaos Nova, Sigil of Chains, Inkabor, Sigil of Silence, and their individual interrupts to stop any major cast from going through. They now move on to do another big pull with a 3rd Demolisher and 2 big caster packs, but hold on to most of their CDs, making it a pretty difficult pull. Once they dealt with that, they use their Shrouds to skip past the Sniper pack, and Skylark jumps ahead to imprison a Wave Shaper and continues to engage Hadal Darkfathom with the majority of the trash in the boss room. This is an incredibly dangerous pull, and the reason why they have held on to some major CDs. The combination of 2 commanders using asteroid charges on players on top of the boss's AoE damage from Breakwater, and the Wave Shaper having to be controlled to avoid any brackish bolts or watertight shells going through. They use their Shadow Melds and immunities in a more strategic way this time around, making sure to only use it to avoid asteroid charges in bad overlap situations, like when the group is forced to stack up to avoid the tidal surges. At the end of the boss fight, they engage the last trash pack they need for their 100% enemy forces. The reason they can pull it so late is the fact that the gate doesn't immediately open on boss death, so they can finish the trash while they wait for the RP to end, and they can move on to Vic Goth. On this boss, they split up their damage dealers to be more efficient with their cooldowns and uptime. They send Stove with Ascendance and Moat to deal with the Gripping Tentacle, and the rest of the team to the Demolishing Terror. On the second platform, Hopeful is hitting the Gripping Tentacle with his Death Mark. Skylark is actually the player to stay back and uses the cannons, while Mason is tanking the demos for a little while until their tank is ready to take over. For the last platform, they use Bloodlust to nuke the 2 tentacles, any offensive CDs they have left, and most Heart of the Wild. Skylark takes over the last cannon and shoots the boss to finish the dungeon in 11 minutes and 38 seconds, for the fastest run of the global finals in a zero-death run. What an absolutely credible performance by Mandatory, and a very deserved victory to defend their champion title. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one, and remember to tune into the Great Push in January next year to see Mandatory and the other amazing teams push keys to the highest levels. Thank you so much for watching, and see you on the next one.